Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We've been coming to you live from Mainnet 2023 in New York City, and joining us for this segment, we have Shan Aggarwal, Vice President of Corporate Development and Head of Coinbase Ventures at Coinbase, to discuss catalysts for growth that we can expect at Coinbase Ventures. We'll also take a look at some Web3 and B2B trends. Shan, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to TradeTalks.
Thanks so much, Jill. Happy to be here.
You got it. Tell us about Coinbase Ventures. What's the group all about?
Yeah, exactly. So Coinbase Ventures is the in-house venture arm under Coinbase Global. It was founded in early 2018, and our mandate is really to support exceptional entrepreneurs that are working to advance the crypto ecosystem. So we were one of the first companies to start a venture arm that's just focused on crypto investments. To date, we've made just over 400 investments, usually very pre-seed, seed stage focused. So companies that are raising really like their first institutional capital, and very broad across the entire ecosystem, so both consumer and B2B focused companies. You can think about the portfolio as sort of the largest index on the broader crypto ecosystem in many ways.
So let's talk about some of the verticals that are the most interesting when it comes to investment, and Web3, B2B. What are some of the trends in that marketplace that you're looking at?
Yeah, I think B2B historically, so we've actually been digging deep into this because we've been asking ourselves the question as to what is the actual market size here, because that's really important for how we think about underwriting any of these investments. So we did a pretty robust exercise where we actually tried to estimate from a bottoms-up perspective what the size of the total spend is on B2B software, and that came out to roughly about $1.5 to $2 billion in 2022. If you double click within that $1.5 to $2 billion, roughly half of it is in core blockchain infrastructure. Seems kind of intuitive. Things like custody, key management, node services, staking, etc. And the reason for that is a lot of it is motivated by what has been the primary use case for crypto up until today. And that's really trading or trading-oriented activities. So when we look towards the future, we look at a lot of non-trading use cases, and some of the non-trading use cases that are still very early today, but that we're starting to see early green shoots and signs of life. And that's expanding where you see monetization happening into areas such as embedded wallets, developer-focused tools that help normal developers build various blockchain-based applications. And so that's where we're spending a lot of our time now.
It's so interesting because there's certain key themes that you pick up at the conferences after you meet with all different types of guests, and one thing that's been coming up is, this sounds very super app-ish in a way, which I think is really exciting, how the wallets are expanding and looking beyond just what you would think it would just be trading or just be investing. I think that's one of the most interesting themes coming out of mainnet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the beauties of crypto is that you have interoperable protocols.
Right.
And so you can have this really compelling, globally accessible front end like a Coinbase wallet. Anybody in the world can access it. They have complete ownership and control over all of their assets. Some of those assets will be financial assets. Some of them will just be NFTs that they get for attending mainnet or for speaking on Nasdaq TradeTalks. So it's a really compelling integration of all of these different multiple facets of people's livelihood.
So when you think about catalysts for future growth for Coinbase Ventures, what are you looking at there?
Yeah, so we really look at two vectors. So I think about it as the crypto native community and continued growth of crypto native firms. So at one point, Coinbase was a very small company and has grown pretty significantly over the last 10 years. We're excited about supporting companies that are dedicated to the crypto ecosystem and seeing as they grow as the ecosystem grows. And then separately, the theme that we have seen pretty significantly over the last 12 months is, despite all the noise as it relates to crypto asset prices, large corporations, Web2 corporations, household names like a Coca-Cola, Budweiser, Shopify, and more, all of them are also starting to think about, well, how do we integrate products that leverage crypto on the back end into their end user facing platforms? And we think that that's going to be a pretty significant catalyst for growth. It's also a pretty significant opportunity for early stage startups in the crypto ecosystem, because all of those companies, they look at crypto for inherent attributes that are attractive to their end users, but they're not necessarily going to build a lot of crypto infrastructure in-house. So they're going to be looking for partners, they're going to be looking for custody providers, wallet providers, and the like, to help them launch those offerings. And we see this a lot in Coinbase's business through interest that we get from these brands, and we're excited about that to flow further down into the ecosystem to a lot of the earlier stage startups.
It'll be interesting to see what the M&A space looks like in the next 5 to 10 years there, especially with the seed companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a big area of focus for us as well. There's a lot of companies that are vying for. Right now, it's a few set of customers. Hopefully, that set of customers grows. But if you look at the way that other industries have developed, you would expect that there will be consolidation over time, and companies that go from offering one thing like custody to more of a platform that offers an integrated solution, which includes 10 different items that a company like a Shopify would need to offer crypto to its end customers.
It'll be interesting also to see how the wallets evolve and how those ecosystems build out as well for the same reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most interesting areas right now, the way that for folks who are familiar with how you interact with crypto, the way that anybody has interacted with a crypto asset over the last 10 years has just started. We've hit an inflection point and it has just started to shift in really the last 3 months. Where it's now possible to actually have crypto assets without even knowing that you have a crypto asset. It just feels like you have a thing or a loyalty point or something like that in a mobile app.
And isn't that the whole point of it though, right?
Absolutely.
You don't want to have to think about these things as the end user. You want it to be seamless, just like the experience you might have had on Web 2, right? What happens in the back end, as long as your data's safe, it works well, it interoperates, it's efficient. So you care about as an end user.
Yeah, and we're clear-eyed about it. Like, we don't necessarily think that everything will be on-chain overnight. It's going to be a progression, and I think over the next year, and you see some early examples of this now, you'll start to see apps that look and feel a lot like an app that you would download from the App Store. And that app will function just like any of those apps, and it'll have certain components that are on-chain. You'll have a wallet. You might not know you have a wallet. But the benefit is that those users over time learn there's certain benefits of having these crypto assets. If you're a game player and you're playing a mobile game that has on-chain components, and you say, well, I'm tired of this game, but I spent $100 or $500 on purchasing in-game assets, well, hey, maybe now I can actually exchange those items for value or for another item in a game that I want to play next. And so rather than being restricted to that previous platform, you get to take it with you. And I think that value proposition is really going to start to resonate. You see it in other pockets of the space as well, just in terms of users having more ownership and control over their data and how their data is used. I think the EU has been really a pioneer in this with GDPR and very much forward-looking. In the US, you see a lot of changes to the ad ecosystem on mobile with Apple's app tracking changes that they've announced just over the last year or so. And a lot of those are very relevant to how crypto assets are ultimately viewed and adopted by end users.
All right, Shan, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.